Hello, everybody. Dakota here. I'm here with my friend Zach, and today we're going to be talking about all of Tarantino's movies, and we're going to be ranking them from best to worst, I guess you could say, and just our personal opinions on them.
Yeah, hey guys, returning back again for another ranking list. Hopefully, it'll be a lot shorter this time than the last video. But I know Cody and I are big fans of Tarantino, and we don't think poorly of any of these films we're about to talk about. So we might get a little bit more long winded in talking about each one of them. But happy to be back.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be 4 hours either, but but it won't be a super long video, but we're just kind of giving our thoughts on them, and a lot of these we haven't seen in a long time, but Tarantino's a director that has like just made his mark with every movie that he's made, I feel like, and they're just so easy to pinpoint when you see a clip of them and know exactly, which movie it is. So I think as far as remembering them, we're going to be able to kind of pinpoint certain scenes from each movie, but we're going to kind of give our little thoughts on it and try not to go too crazy into detail with each one of them. But starting off, we have the top tier, which is Royale with cheese. The second tier is Gentlemen. You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. The third tier is Wiggle Your Big Toe. Fourth tier is The D is Silent. And last but not least, oh man, I shot Marvin in the face. And we're going to be starting off with his first feature debut in 1992, Reservoir Dogs. And this is one of my favorites. I don't know. It's hard to really say if Tarantino has a bad movie. I don't think he does, but it's going to be difficult for me and Zach both with this because it's going to be hard to figure out what goes where because like me and him were discussing before we clicked record, we were like these movies are sevens to tens. There's not a movie that's below a 7.5 or a 7 on this list. They're just either good to fantastic, and some of them, if you watched my David Fincher tier list, some of them are like some of the greatest films ever made in my eyes, and I think Zach agrees with me on that.
Yep. Yeah,
So
there's just certainly a couple of these that I'm gonna call out as being, for me personally, top 100 films of all time.
So the first one, Reservoir Dogs. This one has a pretty great cast with it. I mean, you have Harvey Keitel, Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Chris Penn, Steve Buscemi's in this one, and this one is about it's like a jewelry heist, and it goes horribly wrong, and they end up having to stay at this one location and try to kind of hide out so that way the cops don't find them. And it's just a really tense film. You're in this situation where it kind of goes back and forth with the story, which is Tarantino's famous for that, where it'll start in one part of the story and then he might go 10 to 20 minutes before that happened or 10 to 20 minutes into the future. He always does that with his movies where he's not really consistent with the story, but it's not a bad thing. It's kind of everything ties into a nice bow by the end of it. And this is one that I think the acting is great, especially from Tim Roth in this movie. He does a great job. Uh, Michael Madsen is absolutely heinous and terrible as a person in this movie, and you won't listen to Stuck in the Middle with You the same. It's kind of a Singing in the Rain, Clockwork Orange type of deal. So, but for me, this is second tier. I think that it's one of my favorites personally, and I hadn't seen it in a really long time. But for what it is, with one location and just a very small number of actors, I think he does a fantastic job of just ramping up the tension by the end of it, and you really don't know who's going to make it out alive. So it definitely keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, I think I'll repeat a lot of what you said. I mean, I love that this kind of forewent the traditional heist movie narrative. We got, basically it focuses on the aftermath of the heist and all these, color nicknamed guys all hold up in a warehouse after it goes, wrong, as opposed to, traditional heist films where it seems like it focuses more on like the build up and the development of the characters, and then ending in like the third part climax of the actual heist itself. This one goes straight to the aftermath, and then you get flashbacks. I mean, that's a Tarantino trademark, that non-linear structure that he does, and kind of keeps you off balance. But I think it really works here. It works in a lot of his films. You slowly get revealed all the events that led up to the botched job, and you start learning about their true identities and their allegiances, and it all gets kind of revealed to you in pieces and parts. But like a lot of Tarantino films, and I'll probably continue to bring this up. I mean, the engine that drives this film is the sharp, endlessly quotable dialogue. As Cody and I were going through before the hitting record and trying to figure out what we were going to call our tiers. I mean, there's just quotes for days from all these movies, and I just love what Tarantino's able to do with dialogue in his films. I mean, we're talking about they're going to philosophical debates. They're talking about Madonna songs. They're arguing about tipping. At one point, I mean, you just get to kind of learn about the characters and their personalities, and they're all very distinct through these conversations, and it kind of, you know see that tension simmering and building between these men as they go through this experience. But stellar ensemble cast, lots of familiar faces. We'll probably mention a couple of these in a few of his films. I mean, similar to, Nolan or any other great director, if you get a chance to work with them as an actor, you're probably going to keep coming back to them, and they're going to keep coming back to you. So, you know, Quentin Tarantino definitely has his go-to actors. I love the claustrophobic warehouse setting. You already mentioned the torture scene. That one was, famous or infamous. You tell me, but definitely a scene that sticks out. And just that psychological warfare between each of the characters, of the loyalty and the distrust. It's a raw film. It's definitely, you can definitely tell it's kind of an indie film feel to it, and but I think it's really rewatchable. Again, just shows his mastery of dialogue, character building, nonlinear storytelling.
And
Me, I was gonna put it in tier three,
okay,
um, just because of some other films we've got um, coming along. But if you wanted to put it in tier two, I'm totally fine with that because I think it's right there on that line.
yeah, tier three's fine with me. I think there's a lot of heavy hitters later on.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean this next one is massive. So yeah, it's a third spot for me. I think that's a good place to put it for now. Um, but yeah, like you said, I really have nothing else to say about it. I think we kind of summed it up good, and that's one thing I do love about him is like certain moments in his movies like that where it's the simple just conversation at the table at the first of the movie and getting to know the characters, and they all have different backgrounds and different opinions about things. It just makes his movie so raw and realistic. And like you were saying, he kind of has the Martin Scorsese thing where he always brings in actors that you've seen time and time again because they're just so great in their roles and just has so much good chemistry together. So yeah, it's a raw movie. It's definitely, him and Robert Rodriguez kind of had the same upbringing of styles when they both started directing, I feel like, and it has that raw just grittiness to it. It doesn't necessarily feel like a big budget Hollywood film, and I think it succeeds off of that. It doesn't have to be, so I'm gonna put it in the third tier for now. I think that's a good spot. Next, we have his 1994 pretty much masterpiece. I think that's a good way of saying it nowadays. Everyone knows this film. People have the wallet from it, and people quote it, and it's just one of those movies that has been recognized for so many years, and so many people got into it when it came out, and it's just an all-time classic, and that is Pulp Fiction. This one, once again, is a little bit more of his signature style. I feel like this is when he was really starting to come into his own with the intertwining of the stories. You have a lot of that in this movie. It's like four different tales, and they all kind of come at a crossroads by the end of it, and intertwine with each other. And it's like two hitmen and a gangster and his wife and a boxer, and the cast is absolutely brilliant. This movie pretty much saved John Travolta's career. I think he was done with acting at the time and didn't want to act anymore. And Tarantino's like, "Well, I got this, small role for you in Pulp Fiction," and ended up blowing up. And he ended up starring in so much more after this. But you have Uma Thurman in this movie as well. Samuel L. Jackson, Bruce Willis, Tim Roth once again. He's in the diner scene at the first of it and close to the end of it, and the cast is just all around. Big Rames is also in this one as well. Tarantino's in it, uh, playing a small role, but I think Harvey Keitel's in it as well, coming back from Reservoir Dogs. But it's just done so well. I love this movie. I love the intro to it. Once again, it has a very kind of tense intro, and then the big title card, Pulp Fiction, pops up, and then you have a great soundtrack here as well. And it's a funny ass movie at times too. There's a lot of comedic moments. Just even the past the Bible verses with Samuel L. Jackson and just that scene as a whole. There's a lot that's kind of funny in this movie, and I just think everybody does a great job. There's actors in here that I'm not even necessarily a huge fan of. Like Bruce Willis, I think's decent, but he does a damn good performance in this movie, and I think everybody just kind of knocks it out of the park. And the cinematography is also fantastic. I think this and Reservoir Dogs both took place in Los Angeles, if I'm not mistaken, so it's kind of the same location, same area, but this one is way more just, I don't want to say all over the place because that's kind of a disservice to it. It's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in it, but he tells it so well, and the writing's so good, and the dialogue so good that you're never lost. You really are able to follow it, even when it goes back and forth between different characters, and all the characters are unique. They all have their lives and their different backgrounds that they have, and it's just so fun to see how it ends by the end of it because you don't know which way it's going. And it's one of the most quoted films of all time. I'm pretty sure, that scene alone in the apartment is just one of the greatest scenes in movie history. So I really have nothing else to say about it. You've heard it 1,000 times from other people, and you're gonna hear it from me, and I'm sure from Zach. I mean, it's just an all-time great.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction is a cornerstone of modern cinema to me. It's more than just a crime film, and you'll see that kind of again another theme that kind of follows with Tarantino here. I mean, it culturally had a huge impact on film and on other things as well. I mean, we've already mentioned that the nonlinear narrative, the characters, the quotable dialogue that never ends. It seems like every scene probably has some kind of quote that if you've seen this movie enough times, you probably can remember something from there. And as you mentioned, it's all these different inner storylines that all get cleverly weaved together and intersect towards the end. And um, John Travolta, as you already mentioned, and even Samuel L. Jackson probably had career redefining roles here. Uma Thurman was iconic. Um, Bruce Willis was in here too. Like just as an aside, I mean, he probably wasn't one of the best, as you said, of the characters here, but I mean, still great actor. the jumbled chronology that he does in this film is not really, it's not just a gimmick here. It's a crucial element. I think it elevates kind of the mundane parts of the stories and recontextualizes different events, you know, as you see them from different perspectives, or you start to understand what led to this situation. And it really keeps you engaged and surprised as you watch the film. It's a masterclass. It's just unconventional conversation that Tarantino is able to script, with his dark humor, just coming unexpectedly to me. Made me just fall in love with him and this film style when I watched it for the first time. And the performances are superb. Everyone's very eccentric, very memorable. It's just a really stylish, cool movie that just blends genres and subverted expectations, um, for film when you use these types of devices such as nonlinear story. It's obviously made a huge impact on filmmaking. That's undeniable. Its impact on popular culture is obviously still felt today. It's a must watch for anyone who considers himself a film enthusiast, and it'll entertain you, and you'll probably talk about it for decades after you watch it for the first time. So it's just that level. And I know for me, and it'll probably no surprise to you, Cody, but it's tier one for me, and it kind of stands alone in a top Mount Rushmore. If there was a figure that was more prominent on Mount Rushmore, it's not really a good allegory there, but for me, it's the pinnacle. It kind of what I think I will say, like, this film kind of invigorated me from a film perspective, made me want to take film classes in college, even though that's not my major. It really had no benefit to me. I just knew after watching this film that I loved cinematography. I love cinema. I love film so much that I just, it'd always be a part of my life.
Yeah, I think you said it best. It's a master class for sure. It's perfect. So it's definitely top tier. It's a Royale with cheese. It wouldn't be fitting if it wasn't. So
Yeah.
and yeah, and Dylan is the only person that's mine and Zach's friend is the only person I know that does not like Pulp Fiction. So he just does not care for
Yeah.
that movie. I don't know why, but it is
He
what it
likes to go
is.
against the grain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He doesn't pick the usual side. uh, Moving on though, we have Jackie Brown, which we both have not seen, so I really have nothing to say about it. I definitely need to get on it. I need to watch it at some point, but it's one that a lot of people say is great. A lot of people say it is great, but I've never sat down and actually watched it. But one day I'm gonna get to it.
Yeah, you know, for us to be such big Tarantino fans, I've just never, um, you know, taken the time to sit down and watch it, and it's probably a disservice to me. I will say, if you're watching this around the time that we release this, it is free on Amazon Prime. So, and also I think in Netflix. So there you go.
Yeah, I think it's been on Netflix for a good while now. I should have watched it when I had a Netflix account, to be honest. But we'll just leave it down there. I don't want to put it in the bottom because I mean that's the worst tier. So it would be unfair to
Sure.
put a film we hadn't seen in the bottom tier. But um, moving on to 2003, we have Kill Bill Volume One, and this is a movie that I didn't see till like later on in my life. I think I actually saw Pulp Fiction first before I saw it, and I was just kind of going through Tarantino's catalog, and I was definitely excited about this one because I heard like the amazing fight scene at the end of it, and I was like definitely blown away by it. I feel like that's the ending scene is one of the greatest fight scenes in any movie. I mean, it was so graphic that they had to make it black and white. Lucy Liu, I think, is the villain in this one, and she is absolutely just evil and great. And she isn't really like over the top. She's just done so well, and just her rivalry, I guess you could say, with Uma Thurman, which she is the main lead in this movie, is just so well done. And it's a revenge movie. It's a Tarantino revenge film about this woman that was an assassin, and she wakes up from a 4-year coma to get vengeance on the team of assassins who betrayed her and left her for dead. So it's got a good kind of your standard revenge plot, but it's done so well, and it's also humorous. It's got that Tarantino humor to it, but the fight scenes are absolutely brilliant. The swordplay and it's great. Uma Thurman and Lucy Liu both do such a fantastic job in it, and it's got more of like a spaghetti western feel to it. It was kind of his throwback to like spaghetti western mixed with like martial arts, and I just think it is done so well, and I really have no complaints with it. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, this is a hyper stylized, very um, action packed, carnage and gore driven homage to martial arts, samurai lore, exploitation films of the past. Obviously, it's the first half of his epic here. To I guess you could call it that. Um, I think what I loved. This was the first Tarantino film I saw. What I loved most about this was just how visually appealing it was. It's just it's just a feast for the eyes. I mean, it's just vibrant, it's dynamic in its style, and it shifts seamlessly between genres. I mean, there's the anime scene, the gritty realism in the early scenes, the operatic type violence, over the top violence at the House of Blue Leaf sequence at the end. Um, just his, you can tell he's got like a lot of passion for his source material that he's borrowing from to feed this story. I think this is again classic cinema. To me, it's the plot's very straightforward. It's revenge plot, but the energy of the film comes from the choreographed action sequences, and I think Uma Thurman's just performance as the bride here is a standout. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's an over the top experience. It's extremely violent. I loved it. It's candy on the eyes. I love that the way he does the episodes within the film is just has a distinct charm to it. Another must watch for anyone who loves a really good action film because they don't come often this good. Um, so yeah, what tier you got it in?
For me, this is like I want to say I'm like split here because I think it's really leaning towards the top tier, but I think it's like a high second tier, like a really high second tier.
Okay. Um,
But if you think it's top, like
despite it being
I'd be fine with that too.
yeah, I said despite it being my first love, so to speak, with Tarantino, I actually have it in tier three,
Oh, okay.
and I actually preferred Reservoir Dogs as a film over it. I didn't see Reservoir Dogs till after it, but if we want to split the difference and call it tier two, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm perfectly okay with either one, to be honest with you. I could go back and forth between either film. It just depends on really what mood you're in. But since
Yeah,
Reservoir
yeah,
Dogs
they're
is
definitely
more, yeah,
very different.
you got a gritty heist, mob, intense thriller, and then you got a just insane action heavy spaghetti western throwback. So, uh, yeah, either one. I think two is a good spot for now, and kind of put it there. And I just it's one of my all time favorites for sure. But we'll put it right there for right now. And moving on, we have the sequel, which you probably remember a little bit more than I do. I don't think I've really seen this film, but maybe once, maybe twice. I don't really remember a whole lot about it. I do remember that it's kind of more comedic, I think, than the first one is. as far as Tarantino's dark humor. And this one came out like a year later. Like it was like Boom Boom Volume 1, Volume 2. This was 2004. And I remember this is the one which Daryl Hannah, she was in the first movie, but this is the one where her and Michael Madsen's in the trailer, and she has like the snake because she's the girl that has like the one eye. She's got like an eye patch. I remember that scene very well. This is also the one that has Vivica A. Fox in it. I remember her being in this one, and it's just kind of her quest to continue her revenge on her boss and former lover that she got married to before they left her for dead. And I remember liking it. I remember the action being fairly good in it, but I cannot remember much else from it. I also wanted to point out too, I don't know if it's this film or the first movie, but I remember the flashback scene. You probably remember it too, where Uma Thurman's driving the car and it's in black and
Mhm.
white. Reminds me so much of Sin City. Like I don't can't remember if Robert Rodriguez was in any way, had his hand in the pot for 1 and 2, but it reminds me so much of the style of Sin City and that one scene and the flashback at the little church where they pretty much betray her and leave her for dead. But I don't remember too much about the second one. I remember the second one's also the one where she's doing a lot of training, and it's like the dude with the giant mustache, like the
Yep.
white
Pie
mustache.
Man.
Yeah, yeah, I remember his character pretty well, and that scene was kind of funny. It was more on the comedic side, but I remember it being pretty good, but I just didn't like it as much as the first one. The first one, just that last scene just stands out so much in my mind that it kind of just completely overshadows the second movie.
Yeah, this one definitely shifted gears. It was more character driven, more dialogue heavy. I do like this conclusion to the bride's quest for revenge. You still get bursts of that signature like Tarantino over the top violence, but this one kind of delves more into the deeper into like the motivations, the backstories, and particularly the bride and Bill himself. David Carradine plays Bill here, well in both films, but this one I feel like really leaned into those spaghetti western tropes, and leaned more like it was less martial arts, more martial arts dressed drama. um, Tons of extended conversations, tense confrontations, lots of large scale set pieces, lots of monologuing between the characters. That's very reminiscent of those spaghetti westerns. You learn more about the bride's past, her training with Pai Mei, as you mentioned, the complex relationship she had with Bill. The humor continues to be very darkly humorous to me. But you add just emotional depth and to the journey that you began with Volume One. The trailer park brawl is probably the most memorable showdown here, and then obviously the tense final confrontation with Bill himself. David Carradine's very captivating as Bill to me. He delivers a very like nuanced and like honestly when you meet him, you're kind of like you kind of end up liking the character. He's got like this like paternalistic quality to him for an antagonist that I guess you get kind of, or at least I got kind of drawn to. Obviously, you needed to you needed to conclude this story, and I do think it's a satisfying conclusion to the story. It's slower pace for sure. You're focusing more on the dialogue, as I said. It's not quite the nonstop action of Volume One, um, but I think as a whole set piece, um, it's another just unforgettable epic from Tarantino, and I had this as tier 4 for his films. I don't know
Okay.
how you felt about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one that I hadn't seen in a really long time, so I don't remember too much. Like you said, David Carradine, that dude was a great actor, anyways, and his character was fantastic in both movies. So it's one that I definitely need to rewatch for sure. But I think the fourth spot is a good spot for it. I just don't. I just don't remember a whole lot of it compared to the first one. The first one's just so freaking memorable to me that it's hard to go back to the second one, especially when you have so many good fight scenes in the first one. Which I know it's not all about action, but they're just done so well. But I definitely need to watch the sequel. So I think that's a good spot for it. So we'll put it right there in the fourth one. And moving on, we have 2007's Death Proof, and you haven't seen this one.
Yep, I'll let you take it away.
So this was the double feature from that was Grindhouse. It was this and Planet Terra, which was Robert Rodriguez's batshit crazy zombie movie where Rose McGowan had like a machine gun leg, and Bruce Willis was I think he was a like colonel or something in it. He was a dickhead in it, but that movie was insane. Probably my favorite of the two, though. Death Proof has Kurt Russell in it, and he's Stuntman Mike is literally the only name that he goes by, and he's like a old like stunt driver. He has this vehicle that is death proof. It's like invincible. There it can't be like tore up. It's kind of like a Mad Max type of vehicle is what it reminds me of in a way. But he basically stalks these women, and when they least suspect it, he pretty much kills them and just kind of goes goes away. You know, just kind of disappears and then shows back up every now and then and just kind of rinse repeat. But you're introduced to these, I think it's three or four girls at the very first of it, and they spend a lot of time in this movie, like the first 30-35 minutes for you to get to know these characters. And then it does a complete and total shift where Kurt Russell comes in and he meets them at he meets them at this bar, and he's kind of the charming guy. He doesn't seem like he's crazy or sadistical killer, and he lures one of them into his vehicle, which is Rose McGowan's character. She's also in this, and he's got like this big cage chassis, I guess you could say, that they use for stunt cars, like in Hollywood, and basically it doesn't end well. He goes after the three girls that are in the bar, three or four girls that are in the bar that you get attached to, and it is some of the most over the top, batshit crazy like death scenes, like the scene where he hits them head on and just the girl's leg goes flying out the window, and like you just see bones break, and the practical effects are fantastic. So that's one thing I will give this movie is the practical effects and the sound design's really, really good in it. But it is graphic, like it's really over the top gore. And it's a throwback to grindhouse movies. It's a throwback to like 60s, well 70s exploitation films and horror, and it's kind of cool. It's almost got a Dario Argento style to it, which is neat. But the characters overall are good as well. Once you get into the second group of girls, which is Zoe Bell and Rosario Dawson, and I think it's Mary Elizabeth Olsen. They're really good characters. I really like Rosario Dawson and Zoe Bell in this movie. They're great like lead female characters in it, and you really want Kurt Russell to get his in this movie. This is one of the only films I know where he plays the villain, like he's the main bad guy in it, and he's a dick, like just full on, just a dickhead in it. But the practical effects is what stands out the most to me in this movie, and it's a little long. It's around like I want to say like the 2 hour and 5 minute mark. So I feel like if it got cut back just a little bit, shaved off about maybe 20 minutes of it, it probably would have been a nice little hour and 40-minute movie. But overall, it's a decent one. It's the lesser Tarantino movie for me. I don't really put it up there with the heavy hitters or the big dogs. So personally, I'm going to put it in the fourth spot, probably behind Kill Bill Volume 2. I think that's a good spot for it. I think you should watch it when you get time, Zach. It's worth watching. It's definitely entertaining. Just don't go into it thinking that it's going to be like, oh, this is like classic Tarantino. Like it's really not that dialogue wise. It's definitely Tarantino, but he goes full on grindhouse with it completely, and it's way different from any of his movies. I will give him credit on that. It stands out. Like it's definitely way different from the main ones that he's done.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out.
So that's in the fourth one, and next we have Inglorious Bastards, which I think is 2009, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll let you go ahead and take it away with that one.
So yeah, this is just a bold historical, I guess a fantasy sort of, kind of reimagines World War II story. It's again Quentin Tarantino's signature blend of dialogue, tension with just unexpected bursts of gory over the top violence. Again, we go back to the kind of the chapter style that he put forward with Kill Bill. Very distinct chapters here. We got two parallel storylines. We've got the Jewish American soldiers known as the Bastards, led by Lieutenant Aldo Rain, who's played by Brad Pitt, and Shosanna Dreyfus, who's played by Melanie Laurent, um, a young Jewish woman who escapes from the Nazis there, and is plotting her revenge as a cinema owner in Paris. It's not a conventional war film at all. I think it's another masterclass to me. The conversations are very suspenseful, very epic, very memorable here. It's character driven. Um, there's just these lengthy multilingual scenes of dialogue that just have, I don't know, it's to me, um, I'm struggling with the actor's name, but Hans Landa, the SS officer here,
Oh,
who will appear in the next movie.
Christoph, Christoph
Yeah,
Waltz.
Christoph Waltz. Yeah, the way he like delivers his lines, just like he is able to deliver lines that you know physically you can't pick up on any cue, and but for some reason they just have a lot of like underlying menace to them, and it's just like he plays a very calm, scary person very well. I think he won an Academy Award for this portrayal too in this film. Um, so his performance is just the way he like blends his like old world politeness with very observing all of the very old traditional like what's the word I'm looking for here, like when you're at a table and you got a etiquette, that's the word. The way he like blends that like old world etiquette and like the intellect and being just a very smart person with just being just a terrifying person at the same time. um but obviously that climax is cathartic for the audience. It's very satisfying when the violence is on screen. It's impactful, brutal, even. It kind of furthers this like fantasy revenge style narrative that Tarantino put in this film. It's so, again, it's just like a visual feast to me. It's witty. It's really entertaining. It subverts your expectations, keeps you on the edge of your seat. Um, just like the tension he's able to build in just dialogue is just, it's always been so impressive to me. He's got such a unique vision and ability to craft these characters and these sequences. Um, so yeah, that's that's my notes on it. What you got?
Um, to me personally, I think it's like you said, it's a master class as well. I love everything about this movie. I think it has one of the most unsettling, fantastic opening scenes to any movie, especially a Tarantino film. I think that it's well written as always. It's very comedic with the Tarantino dark humor. The final theater scene is absolutely wonderful. I love every actor here. from Brad Pitt to Eli Roth to Diane Kruger to Michael Fassbender. The scene with Michael Fassbender as well when they're at the bar is absolutely brilliant. Might be the best scene in the movie. So to me, the personally, like everything you said, I just think that it's absolutely brilliant. And I don't know, I've always went back and forth. I personally sometimes like it more than Pulp Fiction, and I know that's probably a big thing, but I just love it so much, and I love the time period that takes place in. And Christoph Waltz, like you said, is so unsettling and unnerving, and he's just so simple. He's not really super threatening. He doesn't seem like he is, but he just plays off that role so well, and it won him an Oscar, and he won an Oscar for the movie we'll be talking about right after this one as well. He's just all around a brilliant actor, and this film is just fantastic. I have no complaints with it at all. I love it.
Yeah. What tier do you have it in?
I have it top tier, but that's me. It's a royale with cheese for me.
Okay, yeah, I was tier two with it. I guess to revisit, I didn't mention it for Kill Bill Volume 2, but Kill Bill Volume 2 is like right on that borderline of 3 and 4 tier. I had this at a second tier. Um, but obviously, you know, if you feel like it's deserving of top tier rating, there's one other film that we'll get to next that I like more
Hmm.
personally. So, if I had to award another top tier, it would probably be that one. But I kind of had it as like the top of tier two.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for it. We can put it right there because I do think it's better than Kill Bill. So, um, yeah, we'll put it the top spot or second to top spot. Next, we have the 2012 film Django Unchained, which this is, I guess, not really a spoiler. This is my favorite Tarantino movie, and this is coming from somebody that is not huge on westerns whatsoever. I've never been big on westerns much. I love Clint Eastwood westerns a lot, but this once again is kind of Tarantino's spaghetti western style to it. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Sam Peckinpah, especially the over the top, just gnarly violence at the end of it. But this is a fantastic movie, and there is really no complaints from me with it. I think the acting is done so well. The time period that it's set in is just really, really good, and just each character does such a great job. And Leonardo DiCaprio is fantastic as Mr. Candy. He's one of the best parts about this movie, and there are so many things about this movie that's so great. But I wish that we could have got more dialogue with him and Christoph Waltz's character, the dentist, the doctor, because their chemistry was brilliant. I loved how they kind of fed off of each other and were kind of competitive in a way, in a lot of ways. But the dinner scene is one of the best scenes in any Tarantino film. It's very tense. This movie has one of the best comedic scenes in any Tarantino film with Don Johnson and Jonah Hill when they have the bags on their heads is absolutely fucking hilarious. Like that scene kills me every single time I watch it. It's just the fuck you guys, I'm going home. It's just that that kills
I'm
me.
laughing just thinking about
Yeah,
it.
it's just it breaks me in two every time. It's just so good. It's almost like Mel Brooks style if he was just a little bit vulgar. That's kind of what it reminds me of. But yeah, the action is brilliant. It's once again a revenge film. Jamie Foxx is in it. He's the lead actor in it, and they end up. This is during like the slave trade era, and they take his wife, and he basically goes from nothing and comes back and gets revenge, and it's just awesome. The final like 20 to 30 minute shootout is absolutely fantastic. Like it is so well done. And there's not a whole ton of action in this movie. You get a training montage in it where he's learning how to use the weapons and stuff, which I love, and just the whole film is brilliant from start to finish. It's 2 hours and like 45 minutes, and you never feel that. It just goes by at such a good pace. The soundtrack is brilliant as well. Me and Zach were talking about this before we hit record, with just kind of the different vibes it has. It has a lot of old timey music, but it's also got like samples from older music mixed in with like Rick Ross and just different artists and hip hop artists, which I thought was very unique and different, and it just kind of added the more style and look of to it as well. But it's just all around so damn good, and I really have nothing bad to say about it. And if you're a Western fan, I think you'll love it. If you're a Tarantino fan, you'll love it. It's my favorite. It's my Tarantino magnum opus. I like it more than I do Pulp Fiction, and that's saying a lot because I love Pulp Fiction, but I just think Django Unchained is easily one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah, and this is just a great blend of that spaghetti western with black exploitation films of the past, especially that '70s era. Brutal backdrop of slavery, as you mentioned. Um, Jamie Foxx, Christoph Waltz, Kerry Washington plays Broomhilda, Jamie Foxx's character's wife, so Django's wife. Um, Calvin Candy, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean, just fantastic performances all around. Sure, Tarantino to me. Sharp, anachronistic dialogue, stylish visually. His willingness to confront very sensitive historical subject matters was evident with Inglorious Bastards, and he went even further with this one. There's just this he confronts it with just this mix of dark humor and graphic violence. I think we already mentioned, yeah, Christoph Waltz won the Academy Award here for playing Dr. King Schultz. Leonardo DiCaprio delivered a very, maybe not Christoph Waltz level, but very chilling portrayal himself as Candy. Jamie Foxx anchored the film, very stoic and intense as Django. Samuel L. Jackson, I'll also call him out. He plays a house slave, Stephen. Um, an interesting and in his own way unsettling character. Revenge fantasy again. I mean, typical. You're seeing a lot of themes here. Kill ever since Kill Bill, he's kind of gone into this revenge plot route with all of his films. It does not shy away from the horrors of slavery at all. So it's very brutal and um, in your face about that. It's also like kind of stylized in a sense, the violence, which can turn some people off. I'll acknowledge that, but and obviously there's lots of racial slurs in this film. There was lots of controversy and debate about this film when it was released. I think that pieces of art, film, whatever you want to call it, are important to sort of throw it in your face and make you face it and relive it and see it for what it was. So that's just my opinion. Again, and then as you mentioned, the or almost 3 hour runtime is maybe not for everyone, and the tonal shifts can be quite abrupt, as we talked about. With the scene we talked about with Jonah Hill is with the KKK. So you kind of have to just understand that's Tarantino's style to approach these subjects in this way, and that's his way of doing cinema. So it's entertaining and it's uncomfortable at the same time to watch. I think it was very bold at the time and approached a dark period of history that not a lot of people like to talk about. And Tarantino delivered it unfiltered to us and his own unique and unmistakable lens that he does. I know you probably love it the most. It is my second favorite Tarantino film. I kind of alluded to that. previously. I like it more than Inglorious Bastards. I still had it tier two personally, but I think if you're jonesing to putting it tier one, I think it absolutely certainly belongs there too.
Yeah, that's I think that's the only tier I could put it in, to be perfectly honest with you. I try not to overhype films, but when it's something like this, I mean, it's easily my favorite Tarantino movie. And like you said, there was a lot of controversy behind it, and then I love that he just kind of just threw it in everyone's face. Like he's like, this is how serious this story is, and how the times were back then, and they didn't shy away from anything. And I love that about him. And I really have nothing else to say about it. I think you put it perfectly, and I think that everybody did such a fantastic job, and just the dedication that they put into their roles too, especially with Leonardo DiCaprio, like when he busted his hand wide open on the glass and just continued to act his ass off. Like it was just so much dedication and work put into each role, and it's my favorite. So I'm gonna put it right behind Pulp Fiction. So I would personally pick it over Pulp Fiction, but I think just it being in the higher tier is perfectly fine with me. So
Yeah.
put it right
Yeah, I think for
there.
me it's never where it is in the tier, just that it is in the tier. I
Yeah,
think that kind of explains it. Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't see it anywhere else. It was for a long time, years and years. Pulp Fiction was my favorite. Like I was like, this is Tarantino's best. And then when I saw Django, I was like, man, that's just it was at the time when that came out in 2012 to me personally, and this is not knocking the 2010s, that was kind of the start of the 2010s, but to me that was one of the best films in a long ass time. And personally, we fast forward what 13 years later, 12, 13 years later, and it's still one of my favorite movies. Like easily like top 25 maybe. I love it that much. So moving on, we
Yeah.
have the Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so when we talk about Inglorious Bastards, Django, Pulp Fiction, and we're talking about some of the best movies that have ever been made, if you ask me.
Oh yeah, easily
Um,
5 star by far.
yeah, yeah, all three of those to me. I know we talked about top 100. Um, for me personally, those are probably top 50 films of all time that I've seen. I haven't seen everything on the face of the earth, so take that with a grain of salt if you want to. But just for me personally speaking, those three films that we have, and even Kill Bill Volume One to some degree, um, those are some of the best films ever made.
I would easily put like if we were doing like top 30, top 50 action movies, Kill Bill's definitely like the higher 10 of the tier of that list for sure. So that one's one of the greatest action films ever made. So, but moving on, we have the 2015 film The Hateful Eight, and this is once again kind of the more Western style. He was definitely kind of in his Western phase at the time with Django and once again with Hateful Eight. This is one that it kind of takes place in one location. It's kind of a throwback to Reservoir Dogs with that, where a lot of the pieces kind of come together by the end of it. And it's about Kurt Russell, and he plays like I think it's John Ruth, and it takes place in Wyoming, and he's a bounty hunter, and he's got this prisoner which is played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, and they go to this cabin in Wyoming, and it's in the dead of winter, like snowstorm, and they're basically taking refuge in this cabin, and they go in there, and there's these strangers that they've never seen before in their life, and it's Samuel L. Jackson and Walter Goggins and Tim Roth, Michael Madsen, Bruce Dern. I mean, the list goes on, but they basically sit down and try to have a calm, quiet evening till the storm passes, and a lot of things begin to unravel with each character and their motivations and what they're all there for. And I just want to say Jennifer Jason Leigh, everybody does a great job, but Jennifer Jason Leigh as Daisy in this movie is absolutely brilliant. I thought she almost practically stole the movie from every actor in this because her character is very simple, but she plays it so well that when her and Kurt Russell are kind of going back to back with each other head to head, it's just those scenes are great. Samuel L. Jackson once again, and everybody else that reprises their role in the Tarantino world, they all do a great job. Bruce Dern is also a standout in this one, uh, and that dude's like 90 years old now. Like he's been in so many movies, but he's such a damn good actor. My favorite personally, besides Jennifer Jason Leigh, was Walter Goggins. I thought he was brilliant. That dude is fantastic in anything that he's in. He can play a very unhinged character like on Justified, or he can play a more comedic character like on Vice Principals with Danny McBride. Like he has such a wide range and emotion as an actor that he's just so damn good in this movie. This one is one that I didn't necessarily love when I first saw it, and I've actually only seen this film maybe twice. And it is more on the lengthier side too. Once again, this one's clocking in at about 2 hours and 50 minutes. And there was an extended cut they came out with, which me and Zach were talking about earlier, that was cut up into 4 episodes, which we thought was pretty hilarious. It's like almost like a television show. Uh, but they had to cut it up into 4 episodes because it's like 3 hours and 35 minutes long. And I've heard that it is the superior version of the film. It's a lot that Tarantino had to leave on the cutting room floor. It's got a lot more got a lot more meat to the characters and the story and the backstories to each character. So I've heard it's the superior version of the two. I definitely need to sit down and check it out one day and see what the differences is. But this also is one where it almost went back to old school Hollywood, where he kind of chimed in with the intermission during movies, like back when they had you'd leave the theater and go get refreshments or go to the bathroom for 10, 15 minutes and come back. This one has an intermission during the film, which I thought was an interesting choice. The backstory with Samuel L. Jackson is very interesting and kind of hilarious at times, once again, with his dark humor that he always just puts in his movies. So yeah, it's one from what I remember I really really liked, but I don't remember loving it. It's one that I definitely need to rewatch and kind of form a better opinion on, especially with the extended cut. So, but it's top tier acting like it always is, and I really don't have too many complaints with it.
Yeah, and just a quick note on the extended edition for those that are interested. Apparently, that's on Netflix, and it's got a couple extra scenes, and they just divvied it up into 4 parts. I kind of had to research that a little bit more after we talked about it before recording. But I mean, the Hateful Eight, it's got a pace, right? And you have to be prepared for that pace. And I think I'd come in off of the high of Django Unchained when I went in to see this film, and they're not necessarily dissimilar, but they are very distinct in that way. So another western, but kind of trades that sprawling landscape that you had with Django Unchained for more of a suffocating, claustrophobic confine of a single haberdashery, as they refer to it in the film. So you got the blizzard going on outside, and you get all these collective, suspicious and morally bankrupt individuals inside, bounty hunters, a prisoner, a sheriff, other enigmatic figures. They're all holed up together. They all distrust each other. They all have hidden agendas. It leads to a violent boil, as you would expect. Vintage Tarantino in that respect. Lots of extensive, sharp, witty dialogue, driving the tension, revealing the characters, motivations and truths. You got Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, as you mentioned, Jennifer Jason Leigh too. Um, They go back and forth. It's a lot of fun to watch their dialogue exchange, and building that sense of unease and anticipation as you expect for this all to kind of blow up in their face. Ennio Morricone, I'll mention, is in charge of the score here. I think he won an Oscar for the score. I thought it really matched the isolated, foreboding setting of the film, what he puts together for this film. But it's kind of a bleak film. It is it is it is violent. The bloodshed when it comes is very sudden. It's very graphic. It's very it doesn't spare you in any way. It reflects, I guess, sort of a pessimistic view of humanity in that sense. It's a very slow burn in the first half and builds the atmosphere and the character. So if you're looking for a fast-paced film, this ain't it. Um, it's like essentially a whodunit, and a character study wrapped in a western like skin. It was polarizing when it released. Some people really loved it. Some people thought it was overrated. Um, I do think it was like a challenging film. It was uncomfortable to watch in certain aspects. It leans more into those misanthropic corners of Tarantino's universe. If you're willing to dive in, especially that extended edition, I'm not sure how much longer it is yet, but I assume it's like we're already talking about a close to 3 hour film.
Yeah, right
Um,
at it.
so if you're willing to do that, maybe it's worth it. Maybe I'll do it, tomorrow or something. I don't know. I didn't even know about it honestly till we started to get ready for this video. Um, it is build tension well. I think it's kind of fascinating and how it explores that like post Civil War era like ugliness as a continuation of what was seen in Django Unchained. I guess I'm really curious as to what tier you have it in though.
Personally, with this one, I think you made a good point about going from Django to this movie with the runtime because I felt the same way. Django's clocking in at 2 hours and 45 minutes. This one's about two hours and 49 minutes. And after Django being such a well crafted, well paced movie, I felt like that, it never had a slow or dull moment in it. This one definitely settles down a lot to where it takes a lot of time to get to know the characters and their backstories. And you bringing up the point of it being kind of a who done it. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's literally like if Clue was in like Western time and you were in a cabin. That's kind of what it's like with a bounty hunter, element to it. But the extended cut, I looked it up while you were talking about it. The extended cut is around 3 hours and 35 minutes, so it's about 45 to 50 minutes longer than the original theater cut. Um, but to me personally, I like Reservoir Dogs better, and I would probably might put it in like the third tier. I can't remember if it's better than Kill Bill Volume 2 or not because I hadn't seen that one in so long. But I think it's in between somewhere between 4 and 3 for me.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I had it listed as a tier 4, but if you would have said tier 5, I wouldn't have fought you on it. It's kind of right there on the line for me. I haven't seen Death Proof, but I preferred Kill Bill Volume 2 to this film
That's what I'm
for
kind
sure.
of leaning towards. I think too. I think honestly too. I don't know if it's because I've seen Death Proof more recently, which not super recent, but I saw Death Proof like after that one. That was like, if you don't count Hollywood, Death Proof was like one of the latest Tarantino movies I saw. I personally enjoyed it more just because it's a little bit more entertaining. I felt like, I mean, Hateful Eight, the writing and everything is great, but it's such a lengthy film to watch. And if you're not a fan of films that take place in one location, I don't think you're going to get much enjoyment out of it because it literally doesn't go anywhere else. But I think it deserves to be right in the middle there between Kill Bill and Death Proof. I could go either way with Death Proof and this one, but Death Proof personally I think is a little bit more entertaining. Just that you want to see like just carnage candy and the practical effects and people flying out of moving vehicles and stuff at like 100 miles an hour. Like I mean it's super entertaining. So, but I think it between the middle of Kill Bill and Death Proof's a good spot for it.
All right.
So we'll set it right there. Yeah, I definitely need to check out that extended version because it's got like an 8.5, 8.6 on IMDb, and the original only has like a 7.9, I think. So it must be a lot better. Those added 50 minutes must be, do something pretty well with the story.
Yeah, I think I remember watching it. I saw this in the theaters, and I haven't honestly rewatched it since then. But I did kind of feel like I don't know, it sort of lacked in depth um, for me for a typical Tarantino film. Usually, he does such a good job of developing characters, the narrative kind of driving that development. But this one, I kind of felt like I didn't really know what I wanted to know necessarily about each of the characters.
I think I think it and Death Proof are definitely like the most straightforward Tarantino movies where they don't really have an intertwining story. Even though they have a lot of characters, they don't have a lot of, there's not an intertwining story really too much with Hateful Eight. But they're the most straightforward along with Reservoir Dogs. I just feel like the Death Proof is more entertaining, and I feel like Reservoir Dogs is just a better all around story with more memorable characters, and the situation is a little bit more intense than the Hateful Eight situation.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So moving on, we have his last film for now until his next one, and this is 2019's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm gonna let you take it away on this one and kind of get your thoughts on it because I've talked to you about it before a little bit. I think when it came out because we both saw it in theaters and we didn't see it together, I don't think, but we both saw it on the same week and same weekend, and I just kind of want to get your thoughts on it because it's been a while since we've talked about it. So I'm kind of curious as to what you think of it.
Yeah, it was definitely a less traditional narrative. Had a lot of atmospheric immersion into this like turbulent time, 1969 LA. It's we talked about before the film or before recording, sorry, that it's like a love letter to the twilight of like Hollywood's golden age. And he does a lot of work in recreating that era with a lot of detail. The soundtrack is killer. It just like has like a really he just does a good job of capturing the moment in time that he's placing the film in. I definitely felt like it was well centered there. I felt like I was there with the characters. Obviously, at its heart, it's just the performances of Leonardo DiCaprio as Rick Dalton, who's this fading television star grappling with his career anxieties, and then Brad Pitt as this like laid back, loyal stunt double and confidant. Cliff Booth is his character's name, and they have really good chemistry, right? This male friendship that's portrayed on screen is like sort of the anchor of the whole film, carrying you through this like episodic plot. Then you also have Margot Robbie, who plays Sharon Tate. She has like this innocence to her that kind of gives it this like layer of historical context, for female film stars who are coming about in that time period. I think he really takes his time with his film. He just kind of allows the audience to exist in this world alongside the characters. It's kind of a slow pace. It's very deliberate. It's very immersive. Again, as we've mentioned with both the Hateful Eight um, and potentially with Django, although I think you should give Django a chance if you haven't. that the pacing can be a little bit testing, um, for those that aren't ready for it. Um, Especially if you're used to like a more conventional plot driven film. But again, as always, sharp dialogue, witty dialogue, memorable scenes. I think he does a good job of like capturing the sort of pervasive sense of melancholy of a changing industry that Rick Dalton's character, experiences as he goes from, his 1950s Western TV show to, a more modern Hollywood. Of course, naturally being a Tarantino film, it does culminate in that signature like burst of stylized, over the top violence. Um, but I really enjoy, I'll be a little bit honest here and say I really enjoyed. It was very cathartic, fairy tale type conclusion to the tragedies of this movie, kind of looming in the background. To see that final scene with the characters, and I won't dive into details yet. If you haven't seen it, it's an older film, but maybe you haven't seen it yet. You should still see it. It is a little bit meandering. It is kind of like dance around, and I think certain character arcs are definitely underdeveloped, but it is just like richly detailed. Obviously, the acting is exceptional here, and yeah, I mean, I just love the atmosphere of it mostly. But I was gonna say that this was we don't have anything in tier 5 yet. Personally, of all the Tarantino movies I've seen, this is my least favorite. Again, I'm not saying this movie is not worth watching. I hope you kind of picked up on that in my comments. It's just that of everything else he's put out, this was the least compelling for me. It was simply an above average modern Hollywood film.
Yeah, I think that like you said, it's a love letter to 1960s. The golden age of Hollywood, and it's Tarantino's just love and affection for that era and time period for films and just Hollywood in general. It's my least favorite as well. Just gonna go ahead and say that. I don't think that it's necessarily a bad movie. I feel like it just kind of kicks around a lot. There's not a whole lot going on in this movie to where it's entertaining. I mean, the actors are great. Leonardo's fantastic as Rick Dalton, and Cliff Booth, which is Brad Pitt. He won an Oscar for this performance. He was great in it as well, and Margot Robbie, and you also have I think Austin Butler's in this as well, and Timothy Olyphant and Bruce Dern once again, and Al Pacino's in it too. I think from what I remember, so it's got a very good cast. It definitely isn't shying away from that at all. It's Tarantino, of course, and the writing is great, but it's one to me where it's just not a whole lot happens, and I feel like that maybe if you were born around that time period, and me and you actually had this conversation last year with the movie Saturday Night Live or Saturday Night, we were talking about how if you grew up in that time period of television and movies, that movie probably meant a lot more to you than it does to me and you, because we were more of the Farley and Adam Sandler era of SNL, and that was more of the Belushi and Chevy Chase and stuff like that. I feel like that is the same with this movie. I feel like if you were growing up in the 60s and Hollywood or just television movies in general, and you would definitely appreciate this movie more, especially with like the Bruce Lee makes a cameo in this. The guy that plays Bruce Lee, he makes a cameo in it, which that scene's kind of funny. The ending is the best part. The last 20 minutes with Mickey Madsen and Austin Butler's character, and just the whole Charles Manson thing, which the guy that plays Charles Manson is fucking scary. Like that dude looks exactly like Charles Manson. and it's kind of terrifying. But the last like 20 minutes is absolute batshit, just Tarantino at his over the top, goriest, finest. It's just insane. It's the most entertaining part of the movie. I like the chemistry with Leonardo DiCaprio's character and Brad Pitt's character a lot, but I feel like the movie just kind of, like I was saying, it just kind of walks around and it doesn't really do a whole lot. It's like, oh, here's 60s Hollywood, and here's how these two characters are trying to make a movie and try to spark up the golden age even more because it seems like it's fading out a little bit in Hollywood. And I just didn't really find it that intriguing. I didn't find it as good as his previous work. I just felt like it was the weakest of all the ones that he's come out with. And it's probably more entertaining as far as like Hateful Eight. Like if you want a movie that's a little bit more entertaining, it has a better pace to it. I think it does have a better pace. But once again, it's like 2 hours and 40 minutes, and it's one of those to me that you definitely feel it after a while. You're like, man, we're not really doing a whole lot here. We're doing like sets of TV shows and movies, which I get it. That's what the characters are. They're an actor and a stunt double, but you're just like, we're getting that constantly. We're getting Brad Pitt driving around with Margot Qualley with her feet on the dashboard, and like that's just like the whole shot. It's just her feet on the dashboard. Like it's just random little things that they're just kind of like missed adventures of these like two characters. And I just didn't really buy it that much. I was just kind of like, okay, when's something going to actually happen? And you definitely fill up the build up a little bit to it towards the end with the Charles Manson situation and all that happened. And it leads up to the final act where you think it's going to play out like the real life situation, and it takes a completely different Tarantino spin on it. And that's the best part of the movie. It's the funniest, it's the most chaotic, it's the most hilarious. It's just, to me, that's the golden part of this film. You could skip pretty much almost all of the movie, and the last 30, if it was like a 30-minute short with just that ending, I would be perfectly okay with it because it's just that entertaining. So the whole time you're expecting, like when's the ball going to drop and when something big's going to happen. And I just don't feel like the build up to it is necessarily that enjoyable. But once you get to it, it's the best part.
Yeah, I did. A couple comments. Foot fetish for Tarantino, full effect here.
Yeah.
Those that
Yeah.
that know that. And yeah, it did. I mean, he did a good job. I didn't go into this movie knowing this was a story that was going to intertwine the Charles Manson, I guess, story into it. So kind of waits until the final act to do that, which I found the most compelling too. Just like you, before that, it kind of feels a little bit listless. If you ask me, I mean, we're kind of watching the characters, and honestly, I think the part of the film that sticks out most to me is just the gif of uh, Leonardo DiCaprio's character drinking beer on his couch and pointing out, whistling when he sees a moment on screen, and just using that gif in regular everyday life is probably the most memorable part of this film, outside of the final action scene. Just being, obviously the over the top gory action that we come to expect out of Tarantino. And I do hope that with his 10th or whatever number of directed films he wants to say it is, I mean, because there's some contention there. Whatever his final film is, if it is indeed his final film, I hope that he brings us back to the magic that he captured in that late 2000s era with the Inglorious Bastards and Django style. I hope we get back to that level of intrigue, personally.
So this one is down here at the bottom. We agree on that, and I agree. I mean, I definitely feel like not necessarily bad. Like we said at the start of this video, he doesn't have a bad movie, but I feel like his last two entries have been definitely his more weaker films. I'm the same way. I hope he gets back to what he was doing with the Django. That stride he had between like, I mean, Death Notes or the Death Note, Death Proof is hit or miss. Overall, but I feel like when he hit the stride with Inglorious and Django, it was just like, man, it was so good. Those 2 or 3 years with those movies were just great. So that's our tier list for the Quentin Tarantino ranking for all of his films. And we are at an hour and 20 minutes, so golf clap. It's not a 4 hour MCU extravaganza. Um, but yeah, that's what we thought of each of his movies. Let us know in the comments down below what you guys think. What's your favorite? What's your worst? What tier list should we do next? We're always open for suggestions. These are always fun to do. They're simple. They're easy to do. So, and it's just two best friends talking about movies that we love. So I'm Dakota,
I'm Zach.
and we will talk to you guys later.